Okay, hi everybody. All right, let's get started. Let's make sure everything is working. We are burning the midnight oil. We're burning the midnight oil on this day, 1,902 days. 1,902 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. The front door to the United States, the epicenter for all of this, for everything, for everything. I'm telling you, El Paso is the epicenter. And as El Paso goes, so goes Texas. As Texas goes, so goes the United States. As the United States goes, so goes the world. Um, El Paso is it. El Paso is a place. And so there's a lot of attention there, a lot of attention. And Richard was taken to a soundproof room, and his life was taken because he was a whistleblower, because he absolutely a hero, a patriot. Hundreds of thousands of children have been starting in March 2021. It went turbo force. It was happening before, but it went turbo force. Hundreds of thousands of children trafficked through Fort Bliss. Yeah, Fort Bliss. That's by taxpayer dime, y'all. Taxpayer dime. So it's, and of course in 2019, 2019, sorry, I was just checking to make sure I was live, and I am. Um, the Walmart mass shooting happened August 3rd, which is Dallas Hart's birthday. Dallas Hart is the prime suspect in the murder of our son, and was Richard's platoon leader. So he went green to gold. I don't know how that happened. We're a military family. We don't know how that happened because his record is pretty shady, very bad, very bad. Um, and he must have some connections, right? He must have some connections, and we have confirmed that. We have confirmed that he has some connections. Otherwise, he'd already be arrested. And so would Leilani Hart, his mother, who was receiving mail at Dreams Cabaret there in El Paso, another little epicenter of disaster, So, yeah, gosh, and she is um, admitted to, confessed to facilitating the worst type of crimes against children. She filed an affidavit, and they still haven't arrested her. And failing to timely report and facilitating the worst type of crimes against children. And don't forget, they had heart child care. Yeah, and of course, but they have connections. They have connections in the VA. They have connections in the CID. They have connections in the FBI, because she's part of the Mormon faction, along with CID. Former CID agent Tavita Nusa. He's also part of the Mormon faction, and his brother Solomone Nusa of Mortuary Operations, part of the Mormon faction. And so, of course, Tavita Nusa had his badge terminated in 2021. And of course, he's also a suspect in the murder of our son. So it is, I should say, taking his life, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say all these things on the live stream. They'll probably flag, but they've been flagging, they've been shadow banning everything, all the retaliation, anything to try to silence us from, asking questions and finding out what happened to our son. And this has been going on for 5 years, day in and day out, day in and day out. And we're just getting started. We're just getting energized because things are really, well, we have connections. We have all the institutional support now. You saw that with FBI, Kash Patel today, what they have done in the very short time he's been the director of the FBI. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I'm very happy that they have found uh, hundreds of located the children. But I'm just going to tell you and remind everybody that hundreds of thousands, we're getting more than 500,000, were trafficked through Fort Bliss just between 2021 and halfway through 2024. Okay. So 2023, let's just say 2021, 2023 is just absolutely turbo force during that time. Uh, what do they want with these children? Well, they want cheap labor and they want the worst type of crimes against them. And they even want their body parts. It's really a disaster. It really is just a crime that you can't even fathom, right? You can't even fathom, but it happened. And Richard was a whistleblower. See, these are some very sick people that profit off of the open border with all of the substances, with all of the human trafficking, with all of the um, weapons trafficking, ammunition trafficking, anything that's not bolted down trafficking, especially from Fort Bliss. All kinds of stuff. Fuel, absolutely fuel trafficking, and that has been confirmed now that they were siphoning fuel. Um, and then, of course, we have the rare earth minerals. That's in a mountain, and I had the name, and I need to write it down and memorize it. I do try to do everything by memory. I just repeat all the different names and all the different information. It's a mountain that's right above Van Horn, and they're mining. UTEP's mascot is the miners. Okay, this is a mining area because El Paso is an ancient city, right? There's a lot to be mined there. And there's a lot of tunnels. There's tunnels everywhere, everywhere. Of course, there are tunnels everywhere. It's the miners, right? It's the miners. This is a mining uh, area. There's mining tunnels everywhere. There are trafficking tunnels everywhere. And some of those tunnels are underneath the El Paso ISD schools, right underneath the schools, especially those that border that are located right along the U.S. Mexican border, right there. And when you're in El Paso, it's really close to the border. Everything's close to the border. You can walk right over the ports of entry, right over the bridges, and go right over into Mexico. And that area is called Chihuahua. That state of Mexico is called Chihuahua. And then, of course, you have the city of Juarez. And so if I talk about, Mexico or Chihuahua or Juarez, you'll know what I'm talking about. But we've had a really amazing few days with all of the attention that we're getting, and we're very, very happy. And we want to thank everybody for that attention. I know we're coming on very, very late again, but all of that causes a lot of other things to happen in the background. So, because we're getting more and more information, people reach out, and we're very grateful for that. Um, and there are some that are up to no good, and we have to also address that. Um, and even that gives us some tips, right? Even that gives us some tips. So we're, after 5 years of dealing with all of this, we're a little bit, our it seems like Teflon is starting to grow on us, right? It's like, you're just, it's like water on a duck, you know. These people try their same playbook, and you just say, get behind me, Satan, and you keep going because we're very, very close. We received 2 letters from President Trump. One, how he was um, absolutely, uh, I don't want to give too much away. That's why I'm hesitating. I don't want to give too much away because this was a plan. It's his plan for accountability. That's what it is. That's the first letter that came on August 6th, 2025, was his plan. And I think maybe he thought that we would receive both of them on the same day, but we received the next one on the morning of August 7th, 2025, and it was the declaration of honor to the highest levels from him and Melania to our family, to really to our son, really about our son. And he did not hold back. It was absolutely the highest honors. And I've listed those, and I've shared part, a redacted part of the letter. And it is a very, very um, moving, because what those 2 letters do is confirm uh, that everything that we're doing is absolutely that we've been right all along, and that this Mormon faction cartel tied criminal network, that will do anything, ruin anybody's life, uh, go to the depths of hell, right? To keep that border open, right? To keep the border open, to keep this, um, uh, the gears in their criminal activity moving. But, President Trump has put a wrench in their gears. And um, today he also said that no illegals are crossing into our country. Um, we have plenty of legal people that are coming and going, but not illegals. Okay, so that is, really, really good news. Um, we have exposed Sylvia Borunda Firth, who has a very long history and so many conflicts of interest there in the judicial system in El Paso. And she's absolutely tied to Woody Hunt, the Mormon um, faction that's cartel tied, that are up to no good, And if you look up Woody Hunt, you'll absolutely, your jaw will drop. Just look up his financials, your jaw will drop. And he's up to no good. I'm telling you, he's up to no good. I don't care if he owns the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't care if he owns sports teams there. And um, in El Paso. I don't care if he has the owns the tallest building or one of the tallest buildings in El Paso. I don't care if he's a billionaire. I don't care if he, Rick Francis, his sidearm, is going to host Greg Abbott on the 23rd of October. Um, you know, and should I say I don't care? I do care. I do care because we want accountability. But I don't care if that is what gives him, a pass on his criminal activity, right? No, he doesn't get a pass. He doesn't get a pass, and it's not from me, right? God's going to hold him accountable, and the angels in heaven are constantly working with God. I believe, I was talking to a young person today who was so sad, and uh, I was telling her about my mother. My mother has had this amazing thing happen to her. Everywhere she goes, there a white feather um, crosses her path. A little white feather. She'll walk out of her door, and on her mat will be a little white feather. She'll go out to the car. There'll be a little white feather. She'll go into the store. There will be a little white feather in her cart. And I told my mom, in front of this young lady, I said, "Oh my gosh, Mom, the angels are surrounding you." And I half meant that in jest, and but I half meant it in honesty. And we kind of laugh, and the young lady was just so sad. She was so sad because she didn't believe in angels. And I said, of course, oh my gosh, of course, I believe in angels. I told her, I believe in angels. And you could see her relax. You could see the peace, to know that God and his angels are all around us and working, that her hope doesn't have to just be in James Bono Montoya or Greg Abbott or Rick Francis or Woody Hunt or, these that clearly make you very, very sad because they are up to no good. Right, because they are up to no good, and there's no hope in them. There's no hope in them. And you could say, "Oh, wait a minute, they can repent. They can repent." Well, whatever. But my hope is not in that, right? My hope is not in that. My hope is in the works of God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. And so we move forward with that. We move forward from a place of victory, and they have to deal with their own salvation, right? These up to no good, really. I mean, their hands are so bloody. They're going to have to work that out, their own salvation or their own damnation. um so this and I'm going to move forward with towards getting our son's remains, and exposing, as God has given us all the information about Sylvia Borunda Firth. She's absolutely tied to these people, and she has been blocking, and she has been giving a pass to uh, uh, judges that are um, uh, letting criminals that do the worst type of crimes against children, like William Molinar, just go, and then soon, it won't be as surprising if another child gets hurt. And I hope not. I hope not. But to let him go is just a huge mistake because he's a repeat offender. And then, of course, you have uh, this group protecting the name of Julio Cordero's killer. Now, Julio Cordero, of course, if it was anyone, it would just be just as important. But I want to say who Julio Cordero is. You can go on and you can ask AI. You can, on your phone, you can just Google it, or you can put in who is the most distinguished FBI agent in the history of El Paso, and guess whose name comes up? Julio Cesar Cordero. That's whose name comes up. I've tried it. It's happened. He is, because I wanted to try it before I wrote it, before I posted about it. And he is the most distinguished FBI special agent in the history of the FBI there in El Paso. And the DA's office in El Paso hid the name of the officer that killed Julio Cordero, and has prevented the body cam footage from coming out. They have, and the reason why Julio Cordero is so distinguished is he led uh, a very successful operation called Operation Poisoned Pawns, Pawns, Pawns. like the chess game, right? Like the chess game. He led that, and it was very successful. And I'm sure that, well, uh, Delia Briones' family member had to go to prison because of that, because they're up to no good. And she's still up to no good. Um, so, he put a lot of officials behind bars. He got accountability. And, but he was working on, um, the ones that are on top. And we already know who's on top, right? Who is the power broker that's up to no good in El Paso, and that's Woody Hunt. And he controls like 80% of all military housing. I mean, he's a big power broker, okay? He's big. And he's up to no good. And he, of course, um, being who he is, and with the Open Society, of course, he's allies with Soros, with George Soros, and they together they have caused a lot of trouble for Americans, and a lot of money, because they build things, and their business plan is always not to use their own money. That's how they become wealthy, right? They don't use their own money. They use taxpayers' money. And that's why a lot of the bond, like he'll say, "Oh, my foundation, we give you, we're so benevolent." But no, it's all part of a business plan, to extort taxpayer money, and that's why the taxes in El Paso are so high. Property taxes are so high. And that's why a lot of his cohorts are, those that are up to no good, that are, allies or whatever, that they get this disability benefit, so they don't have to pay those. Lilani Hart doesn't have to pay property taxes, right? Um, Being a dental assistant was really tough for her, and she's like 100% disabled right now. It's and I don't want to, I don't want to question that. She must be, it must have been very, very difficult for her, right? To clean teeth or help a dentist. It must have been very, very difficult for her. She would have to go after work over to, maybe it wasn't after work. Maybe she took an early day, went over to Dreams Cabaret, because it's tough. It's very, very tough. And so, it's disabilitating, right? It's disabilitating. Um, I'll leave that up to y'all to figure that one out. And of course, uh, the DHS, Sanchez, and his honey trap, that had, a whole fleet of cars, half of them having the disability plates. So, you know, um, but the taxpayers, the honest people, they have been charged through the roof, for unnecessary things, like a lot of the schools. And of course, they were paying for the buses, these very, very fancy buses, to go get children over in Juarez and bring them over to fill the schools. And now that has been stopped. The schools emptied out, and now the El Paso ISD has had to, they've had to retrench, right? They've had to retrench to figure things out. Um, so and of course, part of that is the El Paso ISD, police force, where Anthony Acuna, the killer of Julio Cordero, works. And of course, this happened at Franklin High School. The killing happened at Franklin High School. And there's a lot of shady stuff going on with it, I can tell you that much. And the reporting is not accurate. What we're getting back, and if you know something more about it, please feel free to let us know. Thank you, Anicia, so much for coming on, for your prayer and your love. Um, but the information that we are getting, that is, we've been right all along, right? So I think we're right about this, is that Julio Cordero, that it the shooting was so violent that it really severely damaged his face. Okay. And that it was so bad that they had to have closed casket. Okay. So, what the news is telling you, of course, you have Sylvia Borunda Firth having a huge influence over El Paso Matters because she sits on the board of directors for El Paso Community Foundation, which is the owner of El Paso Matters. So she has a huge influence over that. And then, of course, her family owns El Diario. And so she's very, very connected then to the media. And don't forget that Raphael Aureliano, um, Quran, well, I think that it's his ex-wife now. They just recently got divorced, but she is the senior. It doesn't matter because they're cartel tied. It's just they have the same, um, you know, where they get their money and all that. Um, but she is a senior editor for the City magazine. So you have the flesh peddler's wife being the senior editor um, for the City magazine. So, and these are all connected, okay? These are all connected, all cartel tied, and they're up to no good. And Sylvia Borunda Firth, absolutely, uh, she could have exposed uh, the the conflict of interest between Anthony Acuna and James Bonneau Montoya, Mr. 2028 stamp. She could have that they are lifelong friends, lifelong best friends. And she could have exposed that. She could expose the Mayella. She absolutely knows who the Mayella. That's her backyard. That's her playground, right? Is the judicial system. So she knows that Michael Mayella was the federal courthouse manager, and she knows that Michael Mayella Jr. was in the DA's office, working there in the FBI office with Connell Witten, and then the Walmart cybersecurity. So she knows all of that, and so we've identified that her being part of the Woody Hunt Mormon faction, cartel tied criminal group. Um, we've exposed that with, of course, Penny Hamilton, with, of course, Bono Montoya, who changed his name so he could sound more Hispanic for everyone, so he could win the vote. Uh, you know, um, but people didn't take to him too much. He lost, um, but then this time he got through, and then he's not too swift because he got through with the voting, which is the hardest part. But then he didn't even install properly because he didn't want to sign the anti-bribe legally. He didn't want to legally sign the anti-bribe statement. If you do it illegally, it nullifies it. So and that's why they do that, right? That's why they do that. But he he didn't want to sign it properly, and of course, learning from Bill Hicks, we absolutely did an open records and we discovered it, and yeah. So he is not installed properly. He's rogue. He's a rogue DA, and of course, he knew about Michael Mayala. Um, and, Sylvia Brunda Firth knew. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Thank you, Laura, for coming on and your prayers and your love. And so putting this out, and I think the dots are starting to connect because it is convoluted everything, right? And it takes a while unless you're just very dedicated, like Nissia, Laura, and Danielle, very dedicated, always on. to connect the dots constantly. But it's getting so all the puzzle pieces are fitting together. Um, uh, so much so that people can see the picture even if they come in just at the last minute, right? They can see the picture. And this is why the last few days have been monumental in our son's case because, um, of course, we had the Sean Bernabe that had millions of views, but this is about Sylvia Borunda Firth. This is about the Mag Court that is unconstitutionally being ran by, and a good example is that this is all part of their playbook all the way up to Merrick Garland when Merrick Garland was the Attorney General because he put Jack Smith, he just gave him unauthorized authority, illegal authority to go after, spend taxpayers' money. Don't forget, it's all about that. They don't do anything with their own money, they use taxpayers' money. And that's why they have to get the approval of the Senate. That's why they have to get appointed by the president. That's why they have to get a statute, right? A, 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 um, a statute to that is approved that can use the taxpayers' money to do all of the research. And now we know that he was bugging people, right? He was um, um, oh, what do you call it? Eavesdropping, right? He bugged people's phones. This all costs a lot of money to do, a lot of money. And he went after President Trump, and he had no authority to do that, and no authority to use taxpayers' money. And when that came out today, that was, well, it might have came out a couple days ago, but I saw it today. When we saw this today, of course, that hit home. It was deja vu because we have um, so many individuals like James Bonneau Montoya that is sitting at the DA's office without authority. Mario Raskin Ortiz without authority. Justin Underwood without authority on the Walmart case. Um, I always forget about that, when I'm making my list, but it just came to my mind right now. So I had to mention it. Then, of course, you have Manny Chavira without authority, got appointed without authority, without a peace officer's license. That's not legal. And then, of course, you have Penny Hamilton sitting on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court without any authority. And just read her cases and everything. I mean, and she's doing that all without any kind of authority, like someone coming into your house and just telling you how to run your house. It's like, get the heck out. Who are you, right? Who are you? That's like, that's like Penny Hamilton. And so, but Sylvia Borunda Firth is protecting her, is not calling out the unconstitutional um, disenfranchisement of the El Paso um, voters, right? Of the El Paso voters, because that's what's happening here. This is a crime against the voters there in El Paso. And they're just appointing who they want instead of holding an election and letting the electorate there in El Paso decide for themselves who they want to be the judge. And then they are so bold with all of that. They're so bold to go after Mario Gonzalez, right? Judge Mario Gonzalez, who, all he did was talk about cashless bail bonds and his concerns for them. And they are just willing to destroy a person's life, him, right? His life, in order to win a case against President Trump, because President Trump just signed an EO banning cashless bail bonds. And they want to absolutely, they're preparing, it's all over the net, that they're preparing to challenge him on that. And first, they're just destroying any of the witnesses, any of the testimony that could be used against their position. And that's why they went after Mario Gonzalez, which is really disgusting. And I think we should demand that what the Commission on Judicial Conduct, that Sylvia Borunda Firth did not recuse herself, that should be rescinded. Absolutely. So, and I would demand that if I was him, because that's just so ruining his career. Since El Paso is mostly immigrants and cartel, they are 99% in it. Absolutely. And this has been going on for a long time, and it needs to be addressed. It's been going on for a long time, y'all. And people have been raised in it, groomed in it, tortured in it, suffered in it, and it's time for it to end. Absolutely time for it to end. So people have lost their lives because of this trafficking, billions of dollars for the money, right? They do it for the money. It's a lot of money. Um, but it's a lot of money to be a stumbling block for other people, right? And you know what God says about being a stumbling block for other people, that you could just put a millstone around your neck and throw yourself in the abyss. So, it's not the way to go. It's not the way to go. And it means that not everything is about the individual, that it is about a society, it is about a community, it is about communion. And we have a responsibility to one another to do the right thing and not to just look the other way. And we were all horrified when Irina in North Carolina was stabbed in the neck, right? And nobody even came to her aid. And we were absolutely sickened by that. And I know that, but with Austin Hawke's case, a soldier that was brutally murdered in the barracks, and everybody heard it. It was just incredible, and it was so bloody, and nobody came to his aid. Even after the perpetrator left, nobody came to his aid. Nobody even called. And this is in the barracks. This is like the No Soldier Left Behind trained crew, but it didn't work, right? The leadership had failed. They didn't train right. And Austin Hawke was left there to bleed out, and it was bad. It was so bad that it even seeped through the floor. So, can you imagine being in bed right below, and you have drops of blood falling on you, and you're just going to be like that for all night because you're afraid to call 911. You're afraid to be a whistleblower, because being a whistleblower means you're putting your life on the line, severely putting your life on the line. And so that tells you what a hero Richard is and was, because he absolutely knew. He told me, I can't even leave my room, Mom. They might hurt me. He was afraid for his life, and I didn't get it, the extent. I didn't get it. Otherwise, I would have been on an airplane going right over there. Even during COVID, I just get in my truck and go over there. But I just, I just couldn't fathom it, that that Jay Paulin or Michael Ruggiero, that David Park, that Clem Coward, that Michael Roddick, that Colonel Dauber, that, so many were in on it, that they were all in on it and wouldn't protect my son. I just, uh, you just can't even imagine that, but that's how it happened. That's what happened. And and then to have the DA's office, Jaime Esparza, very dirty, with his connection to Ray Velarde, the cartel lawyer, and this whole judicial system that absolutely compromised, absolutely, look at Penny Hamilton, look at Sylvia Borunda Firth, look at Anthony Acuna. He killed the most decorated, distinguished FBI special agent in the history of El Paso, and they're not releasing the video footage. They're not releasing the name because it is a conflict of interest, an obvious conflict of interest. And I have a new system, so and I can't get the other screen to work, but I put a picture up and I posted it, but I wanted to show you the picture, the old school picture of Anthony Acuna and James Bonneau. This is before he changed his name to James Bonneau Montoya. So, they're old school buddies. This is such a conflict of interest, right? It's such a conflict of interest. Where is the body cam footage? I think that we owe it to Julio Cordero and everything that he has done to conduct the investigation into his death properly, right? I mean, that's why he works so hard. Since El Paso, amen. And we know Richard will always be remembered in my community for our Savior. Oh my gosh, don't call him a Savior, but he is a servant of the Savior. With all, and that's what I feel like the angels are. The angels are fellow servants. They're fellow servants with us, and they absolutely help us so much. Um, so, what about the incident in Tennessee place that they manufactured military stuff? Do you think Western trading people involved the individual being sued? I wonder, just my opinion. The incident in Tennessee, please remind me of that because I don't know exactly. I'm not following you. I'm not following what incident because of course we've been reading so many incidences and evaluating them and identifying um, what is the pattern, so that we can report it um, to back up our son's case. So yes, wow. Um, so maybe Danielle will explain a little bit more. Um, yeah, the military right now. You don't have Pete Hegseth with the President of the United States, which is the Commander in Chief, bring all of the flag officers together in one place in Quantico, over 800 of them, to just say, okay, we're going to have new standards, right? Because you can say that in a letter. Something else is going on. And I can tell you from the very beginning of this, there's a lot of mutinous people that got stars um, undeservingly through the Senate Arms Committee. And one of them is Sean Bernabe. He's absolutely a mutineer. He's a mutineer. He's a traitor. He's treasonous. He is absolutely the scum of the earth. Scum of the earth. And the thought of him leading any of our troops is just, is just heart wrenching. So, of course, um, we're not even through 1 year yet of this administration. And this administration, absolutely, they've tried to slow it down. What President Trump has done is absolutely amazing with even all of the roadblocks and all of the very late appointments and everything that has been going on in his administration. There's people out there that absolutely will be damned for their hate they willingly be damned in order to be able to hate President Trump. They just, there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. And, you know, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So, and they're wrong about everything, aren't they? They're just wrong about everything. I haven't found anything that they've been right about. Some people point out the whole COVID thing. uh, you know, President Trump is allowed his opinion on that, and I'm allowed my opinion on that, and I can go with that, right? I can go with that. Um, I don't have to agree with him on everything. But I can tell you this: he loves America because that's what he's doing. And the whole thing with the Middle East, if you've been to um, Israel, like I've been to Israel and all those places, it is multicultural and it is primarily Christian. Okay, the Christians go to Israel in droves from all over the world. It is a place where you can go and sing with people from Australia, from Indonesia, from Africa, from Europe, from South America, North America, all the continents. You can go there and sing a hymn. They're going to sing it in there. You can sing Amazing Grace with all these people. They'll sing it in their language, and but they all know it, and you all know what it brings people together. It, it's the most amazing place. It was, so to protect that is to protect the ability of people from all over the world to come together, to sing together, to have that kind of communion is very, very important. And it is Christian. I can say that. It is, it's the Christians that come there from all over. Um, and the Palestinians depend on those tourists for their livelihood. Um, and so this is a very, very important place. It's called the Holy Land. I think all land is Holy Land, but it is a remarkable place. It is where Jesus walked. Um, is so much history there. And so that was very, very important what President Trump did. And you can say, oh, it was for the Jews or whatever. No, I think it was for the world. It was absolutely for the world. And so getting back to El Paso, which is really the epicenter of everything, really, it is the epicenter of everything. And to have the likes of Sylvia Borunda Firth, sabotage. To have the likes of Penny Hamilton, sabotage. To have the likes of Mario Raskin Ortiz, sabotage. To have the likes of James Bonneau Montoya, sabotage the judicial system. To have the likes of Jaime Esparza, sabotage. To have the likes of Manny Chavira, sabotage. To have the likes of Justin Underwood, sabotage the justice, right? At the epicenter of everything, right? It's the epicenter, the front door to the United States. And and so much trafficking, and to have people work in order to keep that criminal syndicate going, criminal trafficking network going, the trafficking pipeline going, even the corpses, right? Even the corpses, just the worst type of crimes that you can even imagine. And I've been asked to report on this terrible lady across the border in Juarez, um, uh, pregnant young women um, being killed. First a C-section, taking the baby, then taking organs, and then dumping them in places like Plenitude Crematorium, which leads to, this is a full circle now. I can't even report on it. I can barely say that because it is just so hard. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Um, yeah, it's just terrible. So, going back to Plenitude Crematorium, which is, this dumping ground, this flesh peddling, and the probability. How did we come to the realization that Richard's remains, at least partial remains, are were found there? Were found there. And we know that they have his remains, and it goes to many different um, uh, evidences, testimony, witness testimony, being there, going to Juarez. What, I don't know how many times. Is it 3 dozen times going there? Um, the AG um, of Paneche, Paneche's mansion, $20 million mansion in the skankiest, I mean, the most nicest neighborhood in Chihuahua, the whole state of Chihuahua. His house being raided, his house being raided. Um, the news having to cover Plenitude Crematorium, the allowing of the families to protest, the coming of uh, the president of Mexico to admonish and take power away from Governor Mauro Campos because of her involvement in all of this and her mother's involvement in all of this. Um, that's not because she wanted to do that. That's not because they wanted to do that. They had it. Their country is not like our country, right? They have control over the media. They have control. The cartel, are part of the police, and they guard Maru Campos. It's this that is a cartel state. It's a you know and it's a narco state. It's a narco state. It's not like our country, and you can complain about our country as much as you want. But we still have a fighting chance, right? We're not going to give up. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to go, right? That is just such a scapegoat attitude, or a I don't know, a weak attitude. We have a country, and we have to keep it, and that takes a lot of work. And so, and Mexico, they have to. Well, as America goes, so goes the world. And so, and this at this point in history, this is the way it is. And so, that gives us extra incentive and motive and duty to fight for our country. And to have El Paso be sabotaged like it is by these up to no good, and they're just monsters. They're just monsters. And uh, we we just can't let them do it. We have to. And then we have a wonderful thing. It's called justice, right? So we have our Constitution. We have to do it the right way. We have to do it the right way. We cannot descend to, chaos or anarchy. We have to use our system because that's our country, right? So we have to do it our Americana way, make America great again. We have to do it through our laws and through our people, because we are a country of the people, by the people, for the people. And that's why it's the people that have to do this. And so that's why we're very, very grateful for everyone. And this is why we've come so far, because the people are doing it. They're absolutely doing it. And it's why we came on so late tonight. Here it is, 1 o'clock in the morning, because we were getting so much information. So much information. Look, um, you know, James Montoya, it was James Bonneau, okay, which is a French name, which is a Canadian name, okay, which is, uh, a lot of Canadian Mormons came down uh, because they were polygamous. Um, uh, so it's all the pieces fit together. And he is lifelong buddies with Anthony Acuna, who was responsible for the killing of Julio Cordero. And we want to get to the bottom of this because Julio Cordero was the Poison Ponds FBI. He knew about Richard's case. He knew about the Walmart case. He had information. And so we have to get to the bottom of this. It's kind of like with Charlie Kirk, and I think things are coming out slowly. That is that's this kind of the same thing. There's not transparency there. So that's because there's a lot of mutiny, there's a lot of sabotage, and we have to work against the sabotage. So let me read all the comments. The explosion. Oh, yeah, there was an explosion at the military weapons place. Yeah. The place in Tennessee that recently exploded and 17 casualties. It was a military explosive manufacturing facility. All credible witnesses perished. I pray for all the innocent people that lost their lives. Absolutely. And, I haven't looked into, I know about it, but I haven't looked into that. And our family, yeah, we'll look into that because there is absolutely connections with all of these things going on lately. Um, Richard saved our mentality. When my daughters and I saw so much corruption, them in school and me at my job as an Uber driver since 2016. But yes, we are God's servants. My daughter told me to never be afraid. Our fate is already sealed, is just how we get there. Absolutely. God put us on the path for a reason. This is for our national heroes. Absolutely. Um, and legacy is so important because of that, right? Richard, yeah, thank you. There had been work hazardous complaints prior to, is what I've been reading on different sources. Yeah, I'll absolutely have to look into that. Um, the tower being so close to our border sure doesn't have the best interest. No, Governor Abbott and Maru Campos signed it. Yes, and this is a big problem with Governor Abbott. He made a deal with Maru Campos, and he absolutely knows that she is up to no good with the cartel and everything. And he made deals with her, and he's going to be in El Paso on the 23rd of October at Rick Francis's house. Costs $50,000 for a couple, So anyone have extra $50,000 laying around that we can go to dinner at Rick Francis? You can bring a partner, right? That's for two. That's for two. Yeah. Yeah. This is, they're just they're up to no good. They're up to no good. How come they build it so close? I am shocked. Yeah. Oh, don't worry about the misspellings. I can absolutely understand what you're saying. Uh, Yeah, well, the border is it's like their milk cow, right? It's their gravy train. It's their, so they are going to absolutely do whatever they can to increase the gravy, right? The gravy. And they have no ethics, no morals. They will do anything for the dollar. And and they're very, they spend it all. They spend it all. That's why we're $37 trillion in debt, and we don't have gold roads. For $37 trillion in debt, we should have some gold roads, right? Where are the good roads? Um, and we should have free, sparkling, clean water. Water is not expensive. It's everywhere. Why can't we have clean, sparkling, clean water? And why didn't they do that for us when everybody was supposedly having to watch their health and having to be extra clean because of some COVID thing going on? They're just so full. They expose themselves by the way they handle things. All they had to do was give everybody free, clean, sparkling, clean water, and I'm telling you, the health would have went way up. But our water is not that, right? So, you know, on taxpayers' money for sure, they have 50,000. Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And of course, the open checkbook, like Samaniago, he holds a checkbook. Um, so it's lots of sharing, um, lots of information the more people know, the more El Paso will be turned the right way. Okay. It'll be turned back to uh, the Constitution, the American law system, the Texas Constitution, which is beautiful. Um, and people will have much more freedom and much more peace, much more peace. They'll work hard, but they'll have more rest. They'll have more rest. It's lazy people don't have rest. They really don't. So it is really, we need to turn it back, but it takes the people. And that's why the shares really matter, because it is the people that drive the system to do the right thing. And so we are a country of the people, by the people, for the people. And so, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's share. And this last couple of days, it's been very good. So keep it going, and let's really get this information out, especially about the mag court. That needs to be absolutely solved, and it would be easy to solve. Get rid of the judges that are on there. They'll probably have to go to prison or something, and then have an election and elect judges to that court, and voila, and voila, we would have a much better system. So it would be law abiding. It would be law abiding. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. And I